Ashley here with HeartHookHome.com, and today we are going to learn how to do corner to corner crochet in the round. I am super excited about this tutorial. This is so much fun and I think you're really going to love it. So if you are a fan of traditional corner to corner crochet, you know that we typically start with one block and we add one each row. So it goes from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. With this in the round method, we are starting with 4 blocks so that we have 1 block per side, right, of a square, and then we're adding 4 blocks every round we go until we get it as large as we want it to be. Then we will start decreasing on one side only to where we have an actual square. So this is a very fun technique. It's absolutely gorgeous. I'm using this in my new mosaic full-size blanket, and let's make one. First, a few things about this corner to corner crochet in the round. I've picked 2 contrasting colors. We're going to start our square using this light gray. Then we're going to learn how to change colors with this light blue. And then we're going to switch back to the light gray in order to do the decreasing on the sides to make it this nice point for the square. Put this aside. Speaking of hook sizes, you can use any hook size you like that matches the yarn on the label. So you can use any yarn size, does not matter, just find the corresponding hook size that you like that creates the nice fabric. A few notes about this corner to corner crochet in the round. For the most part, it's very, very similar to traditional corner to corner crochet. You can see how this looks just like everything else we've always made in corner to corner crochet, where we're making one square or one rectangle. The difference here is that we're starting at the center and we're creating 1 block for each side of the square. So we'll have 4, and then we'll build onto that with 4 more, and then we'll build onto that with 4 more. So every round you're adding 1 block per side of the square. So every round you're adding 4 blocks, right? So the only difference, or the main difference, is that while you're working this in the round, how we start these rows and end these rows, you will always need to have a different sized block in order to build onto that block to make the next side. You'll see what I mean here in just a second. So let's grab our hook and get started. So like I said, for the very first row, we're starting with 4 blocks. These are going to look like a little square, and it might look a little wonky. That is perfectly fine. It is okay. The longer you go, the more the stitches kind of settle into each other and they turn out beautifully. So to start, I've got my slip knot. I'm going to make the first round, the first block is going to have 4 double crochets. So we're going to start with a chain 6. Now I'm going to find the 3rd chain from my hook, and I'm going to go into the back bar, and I'm going to do a double crochet. I'm going to double crochet in each of these 3 remaining chains so that I have 4 double crochets in a row. And like I said, if you know traditional corner to corner, 4 double crochets is too many. But we are going to use that last, this one right here, this 4th double crochet to create the next block, right? So you always need to have a chain space to work around the next block. That's what our double crochet is going to be, this 4th double crochet right here. We are going to rotate. We're going to chain 2 to start the new block. Now we're going to do 4 double crochets around this actual last double crochet made from the first block, if that makes sense. So we're going to do 1 and 2 and 3 and then 4. So this 4th one we're going to use to build the next block, right? Not looking like much yet. Now we're going to rotate. We're going to chain 2, and we're going to do 4 double crochets around this last double crochet made. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Perfect. Now you can see that we only need 1 more block to make it a square. So we're going to rotate, and we're going to chain 2. Now, since we don't have to build another block onto this one, this is the end of this round, and we're not going to build another block going this direction. We're just going to do our 3 double crochets as in normal or traditional corner to corner, because we do not need that extra stitch that we need to crochet around. So here's my 3, get that out of the way, 3 double crochets. Now we've got what looks like a square. We're going to join to the top of this one right here. So just around this whole chain space right here, we're just going to slip stitch to that. So that is the end of round 1. And like I said, it doesn't really look like much yet. It will really start to take shape and form as we create these additional rows. So to make a new round in corner to corner crochet in the round, we're going to chain 5, and this is the same as with traditional crochet, corner to corner crochet. So I've got my chain 5. I'm going to find the 3rd chain from my hook, go into the back bar and do a double crochet right in there, and in the next one, and in the next one. And you will recognize this for what it is for traditional corner to corner. So I'm rotating my work so that I'm looking at the back side here. This is just like turning. Now I'm going to slip stitch to the top of this block so that these two are touching like this. Slip stitch around the entire chain space, just like that. I like to pull that just a tiny bit tight. Now, we are ready to do our blocks here. Now, since we're on round 2, we're going to have 2 blocks on each side. So I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to do 4 double crochets around this one. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the reason I did 4 here is because we're getting ready to rotate, and we need that 4th one to crochet around. So I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to build a block onto this last double crochet. So I'm going to do 3 double crochets, and I'm only doing 3 because we do not need to build a block to the left of it. 1, 2, 3. And now I'm ready to join to the top of that first block there, just around that chain space like we did last time. So now here is one side completed. Now we're looking at it this way, so I'm going to chain 2, and I'm going to do 4 double crochets around this one because we need to build a block to the left of it here. So really, round 1 and round 2 are the most confusing rounds of this whole thing. So if you just follow along with me as I'm crocheting these first few rounds, it will all sink into place and it'll all make sense here in just a minute. Okay, so now that I've got my 4 double crochets here, I'm going to use this last one to build the block that will go in right here and fill this space. So rotate, chain 2, and then 3 double crochet around this last double crochet made. 1, 2, sometimes it helps if you hold that block down out of the way. And there's 3. Now we're going to slip stitch around the top of that chain space right here. Beautiful. Chain 2, 4 double crochet around this one because we need a base around which to crochet this block here, just like we did on the last 2 sides. There's number 4. And now we are ready to crochet this block that will go right here. So rotate, chain 2, 3 double crochet around that last stitch made. And now we're ready to join to the top of that first block, the whole chain space. Join with the slip stitch, and now we've only got 1 block left, right, in round 2. So chain 2, and since we do not need to build a block onto it, we're just going to do the 3 double crochet as with traditional corner to corner. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to join around that whole chain space right here, and that is the end of round 2. So now we are ready to start round 3. I'm going to do several more rounds in this light gray because once after round 2, once you do 3, 4, and 5, I feel like that's really where you start to get in the groove and just get to going. to start a new round, we are going to do our chain 5, just like with traditional corner to corner. We're going to find the third chain right here, do a double, and then in the next, and then in the next. And now we are ready to turn or rotate our work. We're going to take our hook and we're going to slip stitch to the top of that block right there. Beautiful. And now we are ready to do our block here and a block here. So chain 2. Since this is not going to have a block attached to it to the left, we're just going to do 3 double crochets as normal. 1, and I am going to fold this down. I find that it helps to keep my hook from snagging on that block. 3 double crochets. We're going to join to the top of this block just around that chain space. And now since we are going to have a block to the left of this here, we're going to do 4 double crochets here, and we're going to use that 4th one to create that next block. Chain 2, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Beautiful. Rotate, chain 2, 3 double crochets because we're not going to be adding a block to the left. 2 and 3. Slip stitch to the top of that next block. Like I said, I kind of like to pull this one just a little bit tighter. I think it helps to keep things kind of nice and uniform. Chain 2. Since we do not have a block to the left here, this is going to be a 3 double crochet block. 1, 2, 3. Slip stitch to the top of that next block around the chain space. And since we will have a block connected here, we're going to do 4 double crochets here. Chain 2, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now you can see that we're really starting to do the corner to corner method where you just chain, block, right? So rotate, we're going to go all the way up to this one. So chain 2. Since there is not going to be a block to the left, we're going to just do our 3 double crochets around that last one made. 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to join to the top of this block here. Chain 2. And 1, 2, and 3. Now we're going to join to the top of the next block right here. And since there will be a block to the left, we're going to do 4 in this one. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're going to rotate, chain 2, and 3 double crochet the next block. Let's join to the top of the next. Do 1 more. Join to the top of the next. And this is the last block. There will not be a block to the left, so I'm going to do a 3 double crochet regular traditional block here. I'm going to join to the top just around that chain space. And that is the end of round 3. So you can see that as we're going, we're just building on and on. So we're going to do, let's do 2 more rows together, and then we'll change colors so that we can see what that looks like, and then we'll go ahead and decrease on all of the sides. Next round, we're going to chain 5, do our double crochet, so we're in the 3rd chain here, in the 4th chain, in the 5th chain. We're going to make sure that we're looking at the back side of our stitches from the last row. We're going to rotate it so that we can slip stitch just like this. So now we're going to do 1 block here, 1 block here, and then we're going to do a 4 double crochet block up here so that we can rotate it and go around the side here. So this is remarkably similar to traditional corner to corner, but I absolutely love how it's in the round. You can just keep going and make it as big as you want. I love that it can be a baby blanket or it can be a full-size blanket. It does not matter. So now that I'm at the top, I'm going to do 4 double crochets around this one. When we get to the top, remember that there is not going to be a block to the left of this. So this last block made right before you join is going to be a regular 3 double crochet block. Join to the top of that first one, and that is the end of round 4. Isn't this awesome? I just love it so much. So now we're ready to start round 5. You can easily count your rows because there's in the center is where you started. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're going to start round 5. Perfect. There's 5 chains. We're going to do our 3 double crochets in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Now we're going to make sure we're looking at the back side, and we're going to do our blocks all the way up to the corner. So we're going to attach here, and then we're going to do 3, 3, 3, and then 4 because this is the top of that row or that side. Now, since we are at the top and we know that we're going to build onto it to go the other direction, we're going to do 4 double crochets in the top. And this sequence is all we're going to do the entire time we're building this corner to corner in the round. And now that we've made it back to the beginning where we have the 1 right here, we're just going to do slip stitch, chain 2, and 3 double crochets here. Since we don't have to build onto this one, we're just doing the 3. And now we are going to do a color change. So here, let's take a look at a few different things that we've got going on with our little square. Notice that I am not joining here yet because I'm going to change to our light blue that we've got in reserve. And I wanted to show you how to measure this. Now, you could just continue growing this square and leave the edges kind of wonky. It's kind of cute. Then you might not even have to do a border. You could just do one different colored row to kind of create that border to kind of set it off, and you can be done there. Or you can turn it this way, and you can decrease on each side so that it is a square, right? So it looks like a diamond with a square on each side, right? So depending on how you're wanting to finish it off, you can either measure it from flat edge to flat edge, and this would be as big as your square, right? So we're looking at about 7.5 inches. Or if you do not want to add the corners to each side and to just leave it like this, then you're going to look at it this way. And so this is 6 inches by 6 inches. So if you want to add the corners to it, you're going to measure from flat side to flat side, either direction. And it should be the same both sides, so about 7.5, or this way, about 7.5. If you do not want to add those corners though, make sure that you're measuring it this way, right? Does that make sense? I hope so. Now, let's go ahead and learn how to change colors. Let me get my blue out here. Put this down here. So I've got this lovely blue yarn and I am ready to change to the blue. What I'm going to do is I'm going to act like I'm slip stitching to the top of that block like normal, but I'm going to pull through with my blue yarn. I'm just going to pull that right on through like this. Before I do anything else, I'm going to go to the back and I'm just going to do a very simple knot. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to weave in any ends or anything. I just don't want that to really go anywhere. So now I'm ready to do another round using this blue. And that is all there is to changing colors. So I've done my chain 5. Now I'm going to do my 3 double crochets in the 3rd and then in the 4th and the 5th chain from my hook, just like that. And now I'm looking at the back side. So I'm going to continue building these blue blocks all the way around the entire square. So now I have made it all my way back around with this blue, and you can see how gorgeous that looks when worked in the round. And that's what I mean. If you wanted to make a large, like a baby blanket size of say about 36 inches and just finish it off with one round of a contrasting color, I think that's super cute. And then you don't have to do a border. So let's say that we are ready to start decreasing. Now I'm going to pretend like I want to change colors on the next row. So we changed colors to the blue when we're doing a solid round all the way around. Now I'm going to pretend like I'm changing colors to do the decreases. So I'm going to slip stitch to the top of that first block. Right? Now I'm going to turn, and I like to turn this way so that my yarn is in front of my hook. I am going to skip the first stitch, and I'm going to go into the second stitch right here, and I'm going to do a slip stitch. So I'm going to hold this yarn up out of the way. I'm going to skip this first one right here, and I'm going to go into this one, and I'm going to loosely slip stitch just like that. Now I'm going to go into the next and slip stitch here, and that just gets me to the top of this block so that I can start building this way, right? So I'm going to build to this here, and we're just going to come back and forth and decrease until we have a point here. I decided that I want to do this in the gray so that you can see the difference, right? See the stitches as we are crocheting them. So now that I've done my 2 slip stitches, we skipped this first one because the width of this one will make up for that. So now I am ready to go into the chain space to make my next block. And since I want that to be gray, I'm going to go into that chain space, and I'm going to pull up my gray yarn. I'm going to pull that right on through like a slip stitch, and now I'm going to make a small little knot that I will weave in later, just like this. Lovely. And now I am ready to do a decrease row. So I'm going to do my chain 2. I'm going to do my 3 double crochets around the chain space, and basically I'm doing exactly what we've been doing the entire time. Just when I get to the top of this row, I am not going to continue on. So now I'm going to slip stitch here, continue crocheting my 3 double crochet blocks, slip stitch, and one more block because we need one more to get to the top here. And that is going to be our flat edge. And we're going to slip stitch to this chain space. And now we're done with this portion, right? So now we're going to turn, and again I like to go this direction. I'm going to skip the first stitch. I'm going to go into the next, and I'm going to loosely slip stitch. I'm going to slip stitch into the next stitch, and now I'm ready to turn or rotate my work and start making my blocks all the way back. So I'm going to chain 2, do my 3 double crochets around that chain space, and continue with my blocks. Each row that you do this on should remove 1 block from that side total. So let's say I had the blue here. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had 6 blues. Then I should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 grays. And this one I should have 1, 2, 3, 4 grays. Then I'll have 3, then I'll have 2, and then I'll have 1. Slip stitch to the top of that chain space. Turn. I'm going to skip the first one here. I'm going to slip stitch in this one, and remember to keep that one a little bit on the looser side. Slip stitch in the next one, rotate, and I'm ready to start my blocks again. The last slip stitch of that, see how we've got this nice flat edge here? Rotate, skip the first one. I'm going to do a looser slip stitch in that one, slip stitch in the next one, chain 2, and continue creating these blocks. We are almost done with this first side. I'm going to slip stitch to the top of the block, turn, skip the first one, loosely slip stitch in this one, and then slip stitch in this one. Now we've only got 1 block left. slip stitch to the top of that one. Now you could be done here, but I find that it helps to make a nicer corner if you go ahead and do the slip stitches to the corner over here. So skip that first one, do a pretty loose one in the next, do a slip stitch in the next, and then we're going to clip our yarn and we're just going to fasten off like this. And that makes a nice point for you to put your border around, or however you want to do it. Now we have 3 more sides to do, right? So we're going to make sure that we are looking at the back side of this last blue row, or this blue row here. You can tell that this is the front of these stitches. We want to be looking at the back because we're going to go up this side. So find the first open block right here. So this one, we need to have a gray block right here and all the way down, right, until it looks just like this side over here. So we're going to find this chain space right here. This is where we're going to attach to start the decreasing for this corner. Down to my last block, doing my slip stitches, chain 2, final block, slip stitch, and remember that it looks cleaner if you go ahead and do those slip stitches, even though we're not creating a new block. Boom. So you can see just how pretty that looks. Isn't that absolutely gorgeous? I'm going to go ahead and do these 2 corners as well. We will attach again so that we can see how to attach to do this next portion. Remember, we're going to, this is the front side of those blue stitches, aren't they pretty? Now we're going to look at the back side. Make sure that you are looking at the back side. Find that first chain space, so right here. That's the first chain space. Now I'm going to do exactly what I just did on these 2 edges over here, and I'm going to do that here, and then we'll take a look at it as it is completed. Here is my final block of the entire square. I'm going to finish off with my slip stitches, clip my yarn and pull that right on through, and we are done. So this is how you do corner to corner crochet in the round. I love the clean edges this gives, and like I said, this blue, you could choose not to do these corner triangles and just have it be one large square in that orientation as well. So the blue is really just to give an example of what it looks like, right? We do have some ends to weave in, but that is true of any kind of crochet. You could, if you're making a whole bunch of squares, I recommend leaving these outside yarn tails to use to seam those squares together. It tends to help a little bit. Of course, you could go ahead and weave them all in. Isn't this absolutely beautiful? I do have this brand new tile pattern coming out that I'm using as a large blanket, to make a large blanket. I hope that you will crochet this with me. I look forward to crocheting with you again soon, and thank you for watching.